welcome to TLDR at Earshot, where we answer the questions everyone is asking and we make it crisp and fast. I am your host Garima, and with me is my co-host Deepavali.
Hello everybody.
Recently, the famous dancing girl of the Mohenjo-daro led to a major controversy. The Indus Valley Civilization figurine, originally nude, appeared with a covered torso in the new NCERT Class 9 Arts textbook. The change, of course, did not sit well with many and led to a public outcry. The incident also raised several questions, like does altering archaeological artifacts like this distorts historical facts and misrepresents iconic cultural objects? And what will students learn? Definitely not the real history. The dancing girl is considered to be one of the most celebrated discoveries from Mohenjo-daro. Discovered around 2600 BCE and only around 10 cm tall, the bronze figurine portrays a young, confident teenage girl resting one hand on her hip and the other by her side. Her confident posture has fascinated historians, and her beautifully detailed jewelry and unique posture are evidence of the great metallurgy, craftsmanship, and artistic skills of the Harappan society. It also depicts that the Harappan culture valued artistic expressions. So, the good news is that the public backlash has forced the NCERT to restore the original image in the textbook. But this leads to bigger questions around educational policies and censorship in India. In this episode of TLDR, we will discuss all these aspects and more.
So Garima, thanks for setting the context so well. She's definitely a confident girl, and the craftsmanship should be celebrated rather than covered up. In fact, the busybodies, and I'm sorry for using that term, the busybodies who designed curriculum should get a lesson on Indian sanskar. Their morality is completely based on the Victorian playbook, and they even appear to outdo the Victorian prudes. Victorian society was rather buttoned up. For them, nudity was offensive. Speaking of sex was immoral. In fact, for them, even traditional Indian dances were considered immoral, unacceptable. They branded Bharatanatyam as vulgar, they branded the traditional temple dance as vulgar. And Devdasis for them were associated with prostitution, and so they banned this traditional dance form. British archaeologist John Marshall, who was the Director General of the Archaeological Survey of India then, had described this figurine as a nautch girl, which is the term they used for dancing girls. Her stance reminded him of the dancers, in Indian society then. Whether or not she was a dancing girl is also rather debatable, because no one knows what her identity really was. The English said that she's a dancing girl, and we just went with it. She could be an aristocrat, she could be a priestess, or someone important to rituals, because she's seen holding a bowl in her hand, and her attire, her jewelry is different from, what has been found in other excavation sites. However, from the Victorian gaze, she appears to be a nautch girl.
Yes, you're right. And this impact of Victorian era morality has led to Indians getting uncomfortable even on the mention of nudity. Even though it has always been present in our ancient Indian art forms, our gods and goddesses have also been depicted nude. Nudity was never a matter of shame in ancient Hindu culture. The discomfort most people feel today stems from the Victorian era and Mughal morality, which taught the concept of parda. Historically, most ancient Indian traditions, temple architecture, and scripture celebrated the human form as natural, unshamed expression of divinity and art, rather than an object of shame. Sculptures and artifacts like the 4,500-year-old dancing girl of Mohenjo-daro, or depictions of Ma Kali, wall sculptures of Khajuraho, Ajanta and Ellora caves, showcased a society that openly celebrated the human body without any shame. Nudity in Hindu philosophy also often symbolizes renunciation, purity, and the idea of having nothing to hide. For instance, certain forms of deities are represented without clothes to symbolize being beyond the illusions of the material world. It was used to convey concepts like detachment from material possessions, purity, creation, or the natural state of existence. Nudity was often treated as a philosophical or artistic statement rather than a moral issue. However, with heavy Mughal and British influence over time, covering bodies became synonymous to being civilized, and nudity became synonymous to obscenity and being uncivilized.
Thanks for bringing that perspective into this about how nudity was seen as something more profound and less associated with the gross body. So also now I want to touch upon what morality really means. Morality is a system of values or beliefs that help a society judge right from wrong, and that differs across cultures. And morality is always relative. What is moral to one may not be moral to another. Nudity is normal in some societies, it's unremarkable in others, and yet in others, covering up is considered moral. India has not seen nudity as immoral since our ancient times. Some tribes in India still don't, but under the influence of, like you said, the colonials and even the Mughals, covering up became normalized. In fact, blouses Indian women wear is also an about 19th or 20th century invention. So a nude is normal in our culture, it's not a display. It's a way of life in India. It could be the climate over here that prohibited clothing that clings to the body, which is why, not wearing a cloth covering the upper body was not so common. The climate as well as raw material dictates fashion in most places. Like you can see in the Middle East, the tradition is to cover up, and that's not necessarily associated with religion. The climate over there, there's extreme temperature, there's dust, so it's more likely that people living in such regions would cover up their bodies. Some Europeans are also now experimenting with nudism. It's a call for returning to nature, to embrace your body as it is and becoming comfortable and uninhibited in who you are. Individuals who can do this, I think, can surely build a moral society. I mean, individuals who can embody such values as, being comfortable in who they are, I'm sure they can build a more moral society. If we don't look at the body lustfully, just accept we have one and it looks a certain way for men and women and others, we can definitely mature as a society. Forcibly covering up is not necessarily morality. It reveals our discomfort with the human body, and mostly that's our discomfort with the female body, because women's bodies have been commoditized and commercialized to such an extent that we cannot look at a nude woman and dissociate it from sexualized connotations. I think it's brainwashing by mass media.
And the most important question is, why is something like this being censored in a class 9 textbook? So the debate probably is not about schools exposing children to explicit content, because there is nothing explicit in this case, honestly.
Exactly.
And so I think the focus on education and policymakers should be on age-appropriate education about the human body, because I think it is much better and healthier than treating the body as something shameful or taboo. And by class 9, students are already studying human reproduction, puberty, hormones, anatomy, and health and biology. So they're also navigating adolescence, body image, and curiosity about sex and relationships. So a comprehensive study of human body anatomy and even sex education will make the young students, the younger generation, learn about their own bodies in an educational, scientific, cultural, and historical context. And if this is done nicely, they are less likely to view nudity as something very scandalous. And understanding human anatomy, reproduction, human development can reduce misinformation and help teenagers develop a healthier relationship with their own bodies, and also increase empathy towards others too. And also, this kind of censorship will definitely not eliminate curiosity from them. If most teenagers, like these days, most teenagers have access to smartphones and the internet. So if schools and textbooks avoid basic discussions on the human body, the students will seek answers elsewhere, which often might not be the most civilized way of learning about human anatomy. They might, just go to pornographic content, misinformation on the internet, and unhealthy portrayals of human body and sexuality, which is prevalent on the internet. So ideally, the debate should be about whether children should learn about these topics, but it should rather be about how our educational system can teach them in a way that is age appropriate, scientifically accurate, culturally sensitive, and free from shame.
Absolutely. What is education if it shies away from uncomfortable topics? Also, precisely because nudity makes us uncomfortable, we should sit with it, especially in art education. This censorship happened in an arts textbook, which is ridiculous. Reflecting on what is uncomfortable about a nude body can reveal important questions. They can lead us to answers that broaden our minds. Art is not just about aesthetics, it challenges our thinking as well. So it's precisely for that reason such things should not be censored. Students can ask why the dancing girl appears so confident despite her lack of raiments. They can wonder whether she is a dancing girl at all. According to some scholars, by the way, her nudity and physical form may not signal eroticism or fertility for that matter, but it might signify age. You also said this previously. She's different from other figurines found from the Harappan civilization. It could be, she may not be a dancing girl. She might be a woman from a lower status of society, or even from a different ethnicity. Other terracotta figurines have been found of men and women from Harappan sites, but none of them are like this dancing girl because she's rare in terms of her full frontal nudity, her long limbs and her stance, and the fact that she's made from bronze. So summing up, the Harappan dancing girl figurine deserves to be in the textbook in all her glory for all the reasons that we spoke about in this podcast. So that was all on this episode of TLDR. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next one. These are your hosts, Deepavali and Garima, signing off.
You are listening to Earshot Podcasts. Find us on our website, earshot.in, on YouTube at Earshot Media, and download our app, Earshot, Indian Podcast app.